Hello there. This is Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics, and here we have Woodrow from Akuro-Uni. The
Hey,
Inu,
hey.
Ikuri-Inu. Okay,
Yep.
I said it right. Yeah, my own hillbilly way. Uh, I'm picking these people with these really difficult names. The last guy was Dazukarat. Uh,
Oh, nice.
yeah. So he has you
Yeah.
look, but Uh, yeah, that was a doozy. Um, he's remember the pyramids in South America?
Yeah.
The Ziggurat? Yeah, that's what he named it after. It was the Duzukkarat Foundation, but
Mm.
uh, he's a he's an interesting guy. He's doing he loved my icon so much, telepathic bunny, that inspired him to like do a comic on it based on it. So.
Hmm.
Uh,
Nice.
So I'm he sent me the script and I couldn't make heads or tails of it. He's got such a complicated pinball of a mind. In fact, I was like, okay, well, how about like give me one plot line and see let's write that plot line. Because he had like layers and layers. Uh, it's funny. He had some meta thing going on. It's incredible. He's way beyond me in the conceptual thinking wise.
Hmm.
Anyway, the Kuri-Inu is your present your present project. Um,
Yeah. Current IP I'm working on right now, trying to establish.
okay, yeah, we'll cover that later. First thing is, how much of your bio would you like to share with the show? I
Um.
know, just whatever you can share.
Yeah. So
There's, mm,
basically, for me, what started me in wanting to write originally, not necessarily like what I read or anything, but my grandpa was a writer. We always watched movies and stuff like that together,
oh, okay.
and I just kind of became fascinated with story through movies first initially.
Ah,
And
right.
then he got me to read, but he sort of it was kind of a weird relationship because he would try to force me to read. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, and like and also the first book I picked was It, and then he said like don't read that because of the child killing him in the beginning. I still read it anyway, but yeah, and then after
Uh,
that I read Insomnia actually by Stephen King, and Insomnia. I think a lot of
mhm.
people don't like it because it's really weird. Like it's a really weird book, but I actually really liked it because it was kind of I
Well,
struggle with not sleeping. So
Stephen King didn't like it because it was it's like my favorite book of his is Rose Madder,
mm,
which is very similar to Insomnia, but both of them were plotted out, and so he always feels like that they weren't his best work because
mm.
he actually did a plot, but actually I dig both of them because especially Rose Madder. Rose Madder is my favorite. Um,
I think I have to
he was
pick that one
supposed
up
to.
if it's like Insomnia.
Well, it's it's about a young lady who gets a painting and gets more than she bargained for in the painting. But
Mm,
she's a extremely abused wife who of a cop, and she flees from him. Finally, gets out with her life, and he like hunts her down. But there's a whole lot. This whole thing with the painting, and it just it's a yeah, it's kind of like
sounds
Insomnia in a
interesting.
way. Oh,
Yeah, Insomnia was
it's
crazy. It's about an old
yeah.
guy
Her
who can't
husband.
sleep, starting to see different dimensions. That was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. The whole fates and things like that, and
Mhm.
him getting younger. I never did understand that part. Why we kept
Oh,
getting
yeah.
younger, but
Yeah.
it's Stephen King. It is what it is. He also did the same thing in Golden Years. So that movie, the TV show Golden Years.
Mhm. Maybe, he
Yeah,
has a thing with aging.
maybe he does.
Immortality.
Maybe he does. Maybe he was like like a wish, a deeply fond held wish of his or something. But Yeah, that a lot of people don't understand that. That's a sequel to the Firestarter.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it has John Rainbird is mentioned in the Golden Years. In Golden Years. So it's a sequel to Firestarter.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of a passing thing. Lady says they said John Rainbird was the best agent that they ever had, but this other guy I can't remember his name. But she said she always feared that guy worse. But yeah, it's a the thing the organization chasing him. The organization he was a janitor at was the shop,
Mm,
which is this big bad in several. It's like a federal organization that's big bad in several of his books.
gotcha.
Um. Anyway,
Yeah.
so do you have any other bio you want to share, or we can
Yeah.
move on?
So, uh, when he would like, I said like he'd try to force me to read or whatever, and then I kind of got out of it for a little bit and went
Yeah,
into he
yeah.
like gave me comics, but then I didn't really read the comics. I just was looking at the pictures and then like trying to
Hmm.
draw from them and shit and tell my own stories with the pictures. So, like I would draw different panels and match up different panel or trace, not
Oh,
draw,
okay.
the panels and like in
Hmm.
my head kind of like put my own story to it and write really crappy dialogue to it and stuff like that. That's kind of where that all started. But then
Yeah,
I know eventually I just sort of like got away from that and started like playing video games and skating, and then it just was kind of I thought I was going to be an artist because of video games. I wanted to be a concept artist and stuff, so I went to school for that. Was still
yeah.
taking a couple writing classes here and there because I
Hmm.
liked I really liked short stories, so that's kind of
Ah,
I always wanted to do that in the background, even if I was doing
mm,
art. And then I was talking to someone at Collins College where I was going about just the industry and stuff, and I just heard horror story after horror story after horror story about working in games. So I was like,
yeah.
oh shit, I should rethink kind of what I want to do. I still wanted to tell story and do like these
Right.
fabulous set pieces and stuff. So I was like, movies, and then that's kind of when I went into try to write movie scripts, and that was I think around 2014. And then
Uh-huh.
I was in college again at the second time, and at this one, just a CAC for art again. I was going for art again, and
Oh, okay.
minoring in psychology because the psychology I was taking because I'm obsessed with why characters do things. So like I just kind of wanted to learn more about
Yeah,
just the mind, I
yeah.
guess, and how that works. But yeah, and then from there,
It's
that's
amazing.
when
It's
I
amazing how much that comes up in writing.
yeah, a
It,
lot. Yeah.
it's
Well, when you want
amazing.
to know
Yeah.
why and give people motivations, it really helps. Um,
Right.
And then from there, though, when I was doing the movie scripts, I created this script that
Yeah.
the working title was a set called Savage, and it deals with this Native American, like a half Native American, half African American, who
Yeah.
goes to China to teach surgery stuff because she's like this really high class surgeon. She takes like the Hippocratic oath and all that stuff, and then she gets put in these situations that are just like crazy because the world kind of collapses, the monetary system collapses, and she's stuck over there in China. And like, yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. But I was telling people about it, and I was getting called like a racist and stuff because she was black,
Yeah.
and I was putting her through trauma and or
Hmm.
like hardship. So that kind
You're
of
not
turned me
allowed to
off of
do
that
that.
too. Yeah, I
You're not
know.
allowed to do that. Yeah.
And that's when I got in 2015. There was the Marvel Now. I've tried to get back into
Hmm.
comics before, but I've stated on in
Right.
other places that I didn't know where to jump in. I felt kind of intimidated and confused. So I was like, maybe I'll just not do this. And then the Marvel Now and stuff was happening or whatever. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe I can just hop in here. And there was a couple things I liked. I can't remember if
Hmm.
they were just before Marvel Now or part of Marvel Now, but it was like Indestructible Hulk, Superior Spider-Man. I liked that. Um,
Those are after. Those are
those are after.
after. Yeah.
But I
Uh.
did enjoy
Well,
those two titles, but everything else I picked up I couldn't stand.
right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you basically ran into the SJW invasion twice.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
they're like locusts.
Mm,
They go to where the influence is, and nothing was more influential than gaming. Early in the 2000s or
yep.
2010s, and gaming was really influential, and a lot of culture was influenced by gaming at that time. And they had like dedicated gaming channels and stuff like that,
Mm,
and so they all flocked to gaming, and that's when certain organizations popped up, and all these women showed up in gaming industry. Feminists showed up in the gaming industry. Gamergate started around that time.
Yep. Sarkeesian and
That
all them.
Yeah, Sarkeesian, exactly. And Zoe Quinn,
Yep.
the
Well,
two
that was
two
like
headed monster.
patient zero.
Yeah, yeah, the two headed monster showed up. And and then eventually that shifted over to comics when the MCU movies
Mhm.
started getting really big. And they're like the locusts were like, oh, okay, we're done with let's go over here too, because comics are parallel to gaming,
Yeah.
and so they flocked over. This is pretty much extension, which is funny because they called the movement that against them in Comicsgate,
Yeah.
to connect it to Gamergate,
Yep.
which and they won. They pretty much won against Gamergate because you see these like the Last of Us and things like that
Yep.
that are coming out, and people are like, "What happened?" Well, that's what happened. See, they just it's like, yeah, they're like locusts. They go where the sustenance is, and their sustenance is power,
Yep.
cultural power, and it's they don't have
I
anything
mean,
to add. They don't have anything to
yeah,
create.
they just
They just
destroy.
destroy.
Yep.
Yeah, they're
Well,
locusts.
at least here though, with the gaming, what I noticed is, I mean, I think a lot of people have figured this out and said this, so I'm not gonna be the first person to say it. But with games,
Uh,
you can't. It's hard, way harder, way more expensive, way more time consuming
oh,
to go up against the big companies if you want to try and build your own
right,
culture or
right.
whatever, however you want to say it. But with comics, you can get to
Yeah,
that number to actually do something and put something out there and be
yeah,
competition, be competition for them. So I think
right.
that's something that made me stay with comics when I made that decision, and I found all that stuff happening here. I just basically, instead of doing what I did with the movies and finding a new thing, I just went, no, I'm going
Yeah,
to put my foot down because I can do something here. So that's kind of
right,
the difference,
right.
I think.
Yeah, yeah. Unlike gaming, which requires so much startup capital and requires
Yep.
so much programming and things like that, comics you can self start. It's definitely got a lower price point, and if you're a writer, it's more pricey. That's why
Yeah.
writers will lag behind the artist in CG, because the writers have got to not only do their own scripts and stuff like that, but they've got to line up artists, and they have to find somebody that's not flaky, and you got to find
Mhm.
somebody that and work with an editor. And my editor's flaky, but he's good. Norm
Oh,
Liner.
nice. Hey, at least he's good.
Normie's
That's important.
Yeah, Normie's very good, but he is a nut. So I wish I could get him back on my streams. He was kind of my super villain. So we let's see, he would be constantly like trying to slant everything villain, and I'm like, no. So uh anyway, he had the whole panel turned against me in the villain episode, and he's like, you need to reevaluate your whole entire worldview here, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. It's funny. Anyway, so what was the first writing you read that made you want to learn how? Did
So
mm-hmm.
with this, it's because I know I mentioned movies like maybe want to tell stories, but like you said, the first thing I ever read that made me want to
Yeah.
go like I could do this was probably the short stories in school, like the ones that. So I don't
Yeah.
know if like a lot of people liked them, but I loved like Sound of Thunder, and The Most Dangerous Game. It's something about The Most
Oh, yeah.
Dangerous Game always stuck with me. It was just so amazing, and it was done so short that I just felt like
Right.
I could do this sort of thing. So
This Dangerous Game is very influential. Very influential. Um,
mm,
it had like a lot of good questions that it asked that really got your juices flowing.
yeah,
I actually wrote a variation of the Dangerous Game myself, so yeah, it's definitely inspirational for me too.
nice.
Yeah, there was this short story called Cathedrals, that stuck with me a long time about the dialogue. It's about the current boyfriend of a or husband of a lady entertaining her ex for for like the afternoon,
Mhm.
and her ex happened to be he was kind of like ready to resent the guy, but the guy showed up and the guy's blind,
Oh dang.
and so they wound up sharing a joint and kind of like having a dialogue, a very interesting dialogue, but
Hmm.
it's just a nothing short story, and I don't think anything really happens in it, but the dialogue just influenced the heck out of me. So,
Nice. That's like a
uh,
Quentin Tarantino thing almost, because Quentin Tarantino, it's like the dialogue keeps you involved. You're like, these people are
yeah,
so interesting.
yeah,
It helps it.
um,
It's also a crazy scenario, but
right, right. Well, that's one thing that I think Monster MD gets down better than any comic book that I've read recently. Von from Monster.
the dialogue.
Oh, yeah, but these people are just so interesting.
Mm,
When you look at it, there's really only like a couple action pieces in the whole thing.
mhm.
But you're in this world, you're enjoying this world, like he's talking to a giant praying mantis as to why she ate her husband's head
His
off.
buzz button. Yeah,
Yeah, and then she's like, "Hey, what are you doing
Hey, you
afterwards?"
doing?
It's like,
Yeah.
"No, no, 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 no."
Yeah,
The
it
whole
was
thing with
really
the
good.
vampire, whole thing with the vampire trying to like influence him, and he's like, "I've got some garlic mace here. I'm not afraid to use it," And then he sprays him with it, and it's like, "Wait, wait, wait, that's not garlic." He's like, "Yeah, it's Axe body spray. You stink."
Yeah. And I think that comes from the movie script background, because I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Vaughn was writing movie scripts.
Right,
I
right.
think, but that
I,
that
I think it's a little easier to get into. I think I said this the other day where you're talking about writing movie scripts, and I thought that was easier to convert to
mhm.
comic book form.
It yeah, it is. I think it's already kind of set up that way
Yeah.
so yeah.
Well, comics are shot by shot, so it's yeah, for a novelist like me, it's really difficult to kind of kill your darlings and get it fitted in that box.
Yeah.
But with writing movie scripts, you're already there, kind of.
Yeah,
You
you're
already
already, yeah,
know.
yeah. It's
So
gonna be visual, yeah.
right, right.
The real
Okay,
hard part is, yeah, the pacing and stuff. Ugh.
yeah. Okay. So that any other short stories that come to mind? I know
No,
Stephen
but the
King's
book,
got some incredible ones.
well, the Running Man,
Right.
I I can't
Yeah.
remember. Is the short story called The Running Man too, or is it called something else? I think it's called
It's a
Running Man.
Bachman book. It's actually a novel length, but it has a really incredible pacing, so it feels like it's a short story, but it's actually a novel length. But
Hmm.
yeah, the Bachman books are. I like all the Bachman books. I think I like him writing better as Bachman than I do as writing
Than
Stephen
Stephen
King,
King.
which is weird. Which
Hatchet
is weird.
too. Hatchet was another book that I
Mhm.
read. There was something about the dude being out in the forest all alone and surviving, and
Oh,
the
okay.
writer making that interesting, that I actually really liked. I think also because I was in Boy Scouts, right? So I liked
Right. Right.
wilderness. So there was like a
Yeah.
connection there. But and I
Oh,
think reading part of that story was part of like, I could get through this, or I could do that. Like, like,
yeah.
I don't know, it was weird. But I think that story is also one that sticks with me and made me want to write too. I liked Hatchet.
Right. He wrote one called the girl who loved Tom Gordon.
Ooh.
That was about a little girl lost in the wilderness. Uh,
Oh, is it Gary
yeah.
something?
No, that's Stephen King.
Oh, Stephen King. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I used to be a real big Stephen King nut. uh, Before he started talking about his politics and denigrating me, I was a real big fan. Anyway, funny how that happens. That seems to happen a
Yeah.
lot these days. Oh, you despise me. Okay. Well, maybe I won't buy your next book. Good to know.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just disappointing, but it happens a lot. 2016 broke a lot of people, broke them.
Yeah.
So, what is your strength in writing, do you feel?
So I'd feel that it's probably writing action that isn't dull and kind of being
Huh.
creative, and
Yeah.
character motivations, I think, is actually my strong point. And I think that
Right.
comes from the psychology. And then the
Yeah.
action, it's just I watched when, like I said, when me and my grandpa would watch movies, like the first movies I remember watching is like Rambo, Arnold
Hmm.
movies, stuff like that, like all
Wow.
the old Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. That was a lot of the stuff that raised me. That in horror movies. So I think that's why I have a mind or an eye for action that is unique and
Yeah.
different. I mean, yeah, because I can get
Yeah.
bored with action very easily, so I try to keep that in mind. So I think those would probably be my strongest points.
Yeah. Bloodsport hasn't aged very well, I don't think. Uh, the older you get, the more stupid it gets as a plot.
Yeah.
But you're like,
Oh,
oh, this
yeah. Well,
is.
you know what that movie's based off of, right? A real life story.
Oh yeah, Frank Dukes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's probably why the story's so dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
That guy's
Yeah.
Kumite lie.
Right.
That's a
Right.
great story. The real story is actually better than the movie, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, well, I mean, how much was it real? How much was stuff he made up? But
No, it was all he
after.
made all of it
Yeah.
up. That's what I mean. Is the real
Oh,
story
that's right.
of this
Right.
dude, because he got
Yeah.
so much shine off of this fake story, and it blew up, and
Yeah.
then he got this movie, and then all of a sudden years later, people like, I think Joe Rogan maybe, or other people like were like, no, this
Uh,
never happened. You don't go off into the forest and come back with a with a trophy that you just made yourself and say that you won a Kumite battle to the death. I don't know. It's just
right.
hilarious.
Right.
I find it too funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the whole idea of a battle to the death, tournament of champions is like an intriguing idea.
Hmm.
Um, whether it is actually one or not, they would be the fact that they can kill people would mean that there probably would be not be a lot of
Very many
lot
other
of information
contestants.
about it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure the Yakuza have something similar, but I doubt they're inviting a white Frenchman. Uh, but yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's pretty hardcore. Your grandpa, of course, I can't say much. My dad let me watch spaghetti westerns,
Yeah.
so
That's
yeah,
another
that
thing we
that
watched. Yeah.
yeah. Somebody's like, I was like, yeah, I watched the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but that didn't traumatize me. The Cowboys traumatized me. That's the only one that it's like the only two movies that John Wayne got killed in.
Kid.
Cowboys was one, and Judas was the other. But yeah, they shot him in the back, and I'm like, wait a second, the Duke doesn't die. The Duke doesn't die, and yeah,
But
he
it stuck
died in
with
that
you.
one. Oh, what stuck with me was this really odd image. When Bruce Dern got his, and those Cowboys ambushed or bushwhacked, basically bushwhacked the guys that killed the Duke. Um, but there's this little boy. He was holding a pistol like a rifle. He was so small, and he shot this guy in the back off of a horse. And I mean, the kid was so small. He's like holding it basically like a pistol, a rifle, because he's so small. But he shot a guy in the back off of a horse. And for some reason, that image just stuck with me. I guess because I was that size when I
Yeah.
watched it.
Yep.
But
Well, there's also
yeah,
something weird about seeing something that's supposed to be innocent, like a child kill. Like that's why the
yeah,
child killer's a trope. You know.
yeah, right, right, right. Not as bad as Hit Girl, but yeah.
Oh God.
Oh man, that movie just. I was like, what am I watching? Oh my god, Uh, yeah, that's awesome movie. Uh, especially when Nick Cage and takes her out and says, "Okay,
Oh
honey
man.
bunny, just one more before when we'll go
More.
get ice cream," and
Boom.
he just he shoots her, just shoots her, and it's like, what did he just do? It turned out to be a bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
He's like, see it, see you're still alive, you got to learn to take it, baby. And it's like, what in the world? Oh my God.
It was a good play on like Batman with children. You know.
Yeah,
And so that's
yeah,
what I felt it was to me.
yeah. That's what it was supposed to be. Turns out he was like this loser guy, and he made up the whole story in the comic book. He made up the whole story, and like warped this girl, you know, and
Oh
it was
dang.
all of it was a lie. So at least they gave him better ending in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that comic is dark. Oh my god, everything he does is dark, but that was really dark. Um, so okay, so what do you think? So writing action is your strength. What do you think is a weakness of yours?
So I would say my biggest weakness at this point is probably pitching, because every time I try
Mm,
to do it, and I consider that part of writing because you have to pitch your scripts and stuff. So that
right,
I would have to
right.
say is probably where I feel the weakest. If you don't want to
Okay.
include pitching, I would say maybe actually my like the actual technical aspect of constructing a script. I don't know if my formatting of my scripts are. I know everyone has different formats and stuff, so I'm kind of
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
maybe it's not a big weakness, but I felt that it was just because I had never done it before, so I felt that
yeah.
maybe it was confusing. But I think the more I've done
Hmm.
it, I've gotten it online, and it's a lot better now.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. That learning that script format is there's so many philosophies out there.
Hmm.
You got
How many
Alan Moore.
panels do you use? And
Yeah, you got the Alan Moore philosophy where everything is like nailed down. Alan Moore nails everything down, and then you got like the Stan Lee, Marvel method where
Marvel method.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah, this is what happens in this panel. Go, uh, but yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I could. That's definitely I think a lot of people struggle with. I know I do definitely. The pitching thing that does come with time, but you have to really practice that. I
Hmm.
mean, I've seen so many comic book pitches on these shows, and I'm like, I don't know what in the world.
What the story
I
is
mean,
about. Yeah, that's what I wanna
yeah,
make sure with my pitch is I keep trying to rework it to make sure that it's not
yeah.
just, "This is what the world is." No, it's like, it's gotta be, "This is what the story is. This is what the
Oh,
character is gonna go through," you
that's the
know?
best
So,
kind of pitch.
yeah.
Arcathena, Eric Kennedy, is an incredible artist, but his pitch was incredible because he basically told me what the concept of the book is, but he left it so open as to what the meaning of behind it is, or how it's going to wind up. Uh,
I'll have to
the
go check that out then.
well, the idea that's the reason I mean everybody else was like oohing and ahhing over the art, but the pitch was what really got me because in Arcathena, evidently, there's like two teams. Arcathena is like the team in front of the camera, the pretty people with the boobs and the muscles and that are ready for prime time.
Mhm.
They're basically image people. And they're the ones that everybody credits with the superhero stuff. But there's this other team called Arc Poseidon that actually does the work, but they're not
Damn.
pretty. They're not the powers are not there, are not flashy enough. But they do the grunt work. But that in Arcathena wants those people want legitimacy, and the Poseidon people want you know get credit. And so
Ah,
I'm like I don't
that's
know.
yeah, that's
I was like
cool.
that's gonna be a collision sometime, and I'm gonna be there for that. So uh, yeah, I like that idea. But yeah, that was a heck of a pitch. Uh, Michael Bancroft, his pitch for the Lucents basically like, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. You have to get the book, you know, and
Well, I feel
it's
like that's
the,
kind of
the
a lot of I feel like that was a lot of people's sort of pitch was kinda similar to that. And I
yeah,
love Michael,
yeah,
man. I love Michael Bancroft, but and I love his book. His book,
yeah,
I'm really excited to see how he develops the dream world. Dream worlds are something I'm kind of obsessed with.
yeah, yeah,
Story-wise, I just like stuff that deals with that. There's a little bit of stuff with
right,
that in my world 'cause I deal with spirits and stuff. It's not
yeah, yeah,
a lot, but yeah, it's a
hmm
really interesting concept. But yeah, when it comes to pitching, it's I haven't there hasn't been a lot of pitches that
hmm
stuck out to me really. It's
yeah,
mainly I've been going off of art and um kind of if I like the people now. It's kind of if I think about how I'm
yeah,
buying books, I don't think there's been a pitch that's been like that's awesome except for maybe I liked Arisaga, Brian's pitch for Arisaga,
Ah,
because I knew
yeah,
exactly what I was getting. It was gonna be a
right,
crazy ride, and that's what that book is.
yeah.
I got the tone. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't
Oh,
know, but yeah, it's a hard skill, man. It really is.
I think Shane Davis's pitch for Glorious Rex was a doozy too. Uh,
Oh yeah,
but
that okay. That's a good one too.
that was really it's really intriguing. It's like a real steel, but it's actual physical beings, Um, which I like the movie Real Steel. I know it's nothing like the original short story, but I dig it. Uh, Richard Matheson is a class by himself anyway, so
Hmm.
adapting his stuff, you basically gonna have to go your own way. Yeah, he did a lot of Twilight Zone episodes, but and actually, that was a Twilight Zone episode. Real Steel was a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh wow,
Uh, yeah, which you know.
good
Anyway,
show.
oh yeah, Twilight Zone's awesome. He just got the creme de la creme of short story writers. You
Hmm.
know, and the ones he wrote himself are very awesome too. Okay, so what your weakness is your pitching. Is what you said, and
Hmm. Yeah,
your your scripts. You think your scripts are weak.
the
Is
format.
that
Yeah.
the format? Okay, all right. You mentioned this earlier. What is your favorite book on writing that helped you the most? You said you couldn't remember
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called.
it.
I was looking for it because I had it on my shelf with all my art
Yeah,
books, and now I don't remember
right.
where they went. But it
Okay.
was it was something to deal with like characters or creating characters or something like that. It had an alliteration
Oh, okay.
title,
Yeah.
like black bars on the side of it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it's like I can remember what it looked like, but it was
Creating characters for dummies.
no, it
No.
wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Well, that's a black
it,
bar on the side.
yeah, it wasn't yellow. It was like a bit like a tan
Oh,
book with the
okay. Right.
like black edges. But
Hmm.
it was the thing that I remember getting from it the
Yeah.
most and that I liked about it is it kept talking about like making sure your characters go up against obstacles and making sure the readers cued in on inner conflict that's happening with the character so that
Yeah.
they can
Yeah.
understand what's going on and how to sort of clash your characters against each other. This is something I mentioned in the
Yeah.
other thing, and this is where I got that is I
Right.
like to build scenarios and play them out and just see what happens. And because you don't necessarily have to write everything down that goes on in your head, you can
Yeah.
just sort of play with your characters before you figure
Hmm.
them out. You don't have to just sit down and start writing. This is what, and I mean, some people play that way where they do sit down and write. They can't just like sit there
Yeah.
and sort of think or whatever. They got to put it down, and that's fine too. But it's still just about like throwing your characters against each other in different ways,
Yeah.
unexpected ways, things you didn't think you would do, just to see how they react and to build their character and to kind of figure them out. So that's kind of what the whole book was
Right.
about. And then it wasn't super long. I think it was like
Hmm.
maybe 300 pages, if that.
Oh,
Um,
really? Really?
yeah, it was like I don't know, inch and a
Well,
half thick,
I
maybe.
don't really write a lot of first person perspectives
Mm,
because I feel like I don't really want to inhabit my characters. I write when I write novel wise, I do write a lot of second person perspective, where
oh, okay.
it's my main protagonist. You never really inhabit him. You just kind of like watch him as he works, and so it. I do sometimes switch between perspectives. I'll do like a diary entry or something like that.
Hmm.
But But a lot of what the book that really renovated my writing was Own Writing by Stephen King. Once again, he comes up, but that book is like the nuts and bolts. It's like the blood and guts, basically, of writing. Uh, it like cuts straight to the practical stuff you need to know. And he does talk about characters. Uh, and what he says about characters is that. Basically you do have to take them around the block and kick the tires.
Hmm.
You know you don't necessarily put all the writing you do about those characters. There's gonna be a lot of information that might not ever come out, but you need to
Yep.
know it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you got to figure out what you want to cue the reader in on, and what you just leave on the cutting floor, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it doesn't push the story or character, then it doesn't
No.
necessarily even
Well, the thing about it is everything influences somebody who somebody is.
Mhm. Yep.
You just have to figure out what extent this influenced them. Like I can always tell somebody doesn't really understand Batman by how obsessed they are with the alleyway, because I feel like the alleyway is not really huge in his mind every day. Like some people have him like constantly going back to that alley. Uh, I think it's just like his spur. I think it's something that drives him, but he doesn't like stay there. He didn't stay there, and if you have him staying there in his mind, then you're missing the point. Yeah, that happened to him, and yeah, it was tragic, and yeah, it was graphic, and yeah, it shaped who he was. But the injustice is what drives him.
Mm-hmm.
The injustice of it. His parents were these good people that did these awesome things for people, and they got gunned down. And
by the people they're trying to help.
Yeah, by the very people they're trying to help. And so he's not fighting the criminality, he's fighting the injustice. And when I see people or see somebody understands that, then I like my Frank Miller understands that. Everything Frank Miller wrote with Batman was just spot on. Because he understood. But you then got people like Tom King who never understood Batman. Batman would never do these things, and everybody was like, no, 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 but he's not gonna mope, he's not gonna cry, he's not gonna sit here and she loves me not, she loves me. No, that's not Batman. Anyway,
he just gets shit done.
yeah. And the bodies he leaves behind usually because people feel manipulated by him, but he feels like he's fighting a war. And basically the way you treat your soldiers, you care about the well-being, but you got to get the deal done,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really care about what happens after that. And that's where he kind of ran into problems with characters. But yeah, that's own writing kind of helped me understand that. But I think Bancroft's interviews with his people was really incredible. But if you really want to if you want to know your characters, you interview them.
Yeah.
And if they're telling you stuff that you didn't know about them, if they're like, then you've reached the saturation point. Okay, I can write this person now. But yeah, writing's just an adventure. It's just an adventure.
Yeah, it's a big playground, man. I love it.
Oh yeah. And I got like a pet peeve against people that are like denigrating the art of writing. Maybe because they've encountered bad writers, and so they denigrate the art rather than, then the art. There's nothing wrong with the art. There's something seriously wrong with like Kelly Sudaconic and Gail Simone and Max Visaggio and the usual suspects, Mark Wade. There's something seriously wrong with those people, but there's nothing wrong with the art. The art remains important. The art is still, vital. Anyway, sorry if we kind of I took us down a sideline there. Anyway, so your current project, the OKURI-INU book. I got some your stuff that you wanted to share. Guess we can go through that right now.
Oh yeah, some of these pieces, man, they turned out so good. I can't believe the talent that I'm able to get in contact with this community. It's when 2015 when I started looking for artists at like Comic Cons and stuff. It was such a weird hard thing to do. Like I like
Oh yeah.
talking to
Oh
people
yeah.
and stuff, and it was getting people's
Yeah.
ear just seemed really difficult. And then all this happened. It just became easy to just reach out to people.
Right. Right. Comicsgate. People don't understand that the power of Comicsgate is the is the matrix. The power is in the community. You know. Uh, anyway, let me share this first piece. All right. Let me
Ah,
take us down here.
yes.
All right.
Kevin Keane, I think is how you say his name.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Uh, Now he's doing like Spawn covers and shit, which I didn't realize he was gonna
Oh
start doing.
wow.
I saw he did like a Batman piece. I didn't think it was a
Mm-hmm.
cover for anything,
Yeah.
and then so I hit him up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is a cool idea." And I basically gave him this reference piece of this like spirit wolf, and I was
Uh huh.
like, so told him, my character is possessed by this this Okuri-INU. It's this
Yeah.
demon dog,
Mm-hmm.
this hellhound or whatever, and
Oh okay.
I was like, I just kind of want a picture that really emphasizes that they're kind of two different entities together,
Yeah.
two
Mm-hmm.
separate things. And then he came up with this idea, and I love it because that's kind of
Right.
what I saw in my head when I imagined the character originally. He like pulled. I mentioned it in the other thing, like when
Yeah.
artists pull images out of your head perfectly, it's amazing, and that's what he did here. Just
Right. Right.
worth every penny. Ugh.
Uh. So, what was your choice to leave it black and white? What did you decide that?
I
I mean,
think
I
it's
agree with the decision, but I was wondering what your thinking was on that.
with his style. I think his style
Oh,
is
okay.
it looks really good colored by the people who are coloring like the Spawn covers and stuff. It looks amazing. So I
Right.
could definitely get
Right.
it colored.
Yeah.
But there's something about the way that he did the blacks and the marker, and it sort of
Yeah.
with it just looks so
Textured.
good.
It's
Yeah,
textured.
it's
Yeah.
textured, and I didn't want to ruin the blacks. I just think it looked too good. It was perfect the way it was, in my opinion. So
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. That doesn't always happen, but yeah, I agree on this point. So this one's really awesome.
this is how I found the Barbusco Studios or comics.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Eduardo and Mika. I saw that
Yeah.
Peregrine, so I hit them up and to do this piece. This is the first thing they ever did, and just knocked it out of
Oh.
the park. I mean, Mika's colors on it are
Oh
so
yeah.
vibrant, and he's got the attitude of the character
Yeah.
perfect. The guy because he doesn't
Yeah.
he has a soft spot that's in the book that you'll see, but
Okay. Okay.
he's lived a hardened exterior life. So to everyone else, he's
Mhm.
he's walled off. He's just a hard exterior that you don't want to poke because the only way he
Yeah.
knows how to solve things is violence. So
Yeah.
he won't always be lethal or anything like that, but
Right.
if you get in his face, he'll just knock you out, sort of thing. He's
So
that
he's
type of
got
Wolverine.
kind of like a pit bull that's been a fighting dog.
Yeah,
So
that's a very good description, especially with the dogness, because he actually in my
yeah.
world, your spirit, the way spirits work is when a baby is like conceptualized, the
Yeah.
conception
Mhm.
happens, a spirit, an equal and opposite spirit is kind of born in the
Oh,
spirit
okay.
realm and has to journey to the body basically in the
Yeah.
outer realms to get to the
Okay.
baby, and then they make a connection when the baby's being born, and then all the things that your spirit learns in the outer realms become your instincts as a human. That's that gut feeling that tells you things. It's your
Right.
spirit, your soul
Right.
talking to you. So in this
Oh,
instance,
okay.
his
Mhm.
original soul that took that trip was stripped from him at birth by a
Yeah.
necromancer and implanted with this demon, this wolf that all it knows is hunting and
Right.
feeding. So he grew up with those instincts, and his father and
Uh-huh.
everyone around him honed those instincts for that, because the
Yep.
Okuri-Inu specifically, in the lore of the Okuri-Inu,
Uh-huh.
it's a blessing and a curse. So if it's a metaphor for how you live your life and consequences.
Oh,
So let's
okay.
say in the myth, the
Yeah.
fable, it's a person walking a mountain path, and it starts to
Uh-huh.
stalk them, and they don't know. If you stumble on your path, meaning if you mess up in your life, it will be there to be the consequences. It'll viciously maul you down and make you pay
Right.
for being a bad
Right.
person. However, if you stay good on your path, it will ward away other demons or wild animals because they're so
Huh.
afraid of it and it's hunting you. So I thought that concept just fit so perfect with the character that I had, was
Uh-huh.
already this bounty hunter who lived a harsh life, who no bounty hunters wanted to go on the same missions as him because
Yeah.
everyone always dies when they take the same missions. And it may not be
Right.
him killing
Right.
him or whatever, but the mythos
Yeah.
of him as a bounty hunter within the guild, which is the organization, is that
Uh-huh.
he's a no-go. He's a red flag. Like if he's on a
Right.
mission, leave it, stay the fuck away from it. Basically.
Right. Right.
And he usually takes missions that will either pay and are super hard that no one wants to take, or
Yeah.
missions as like sort of that wandering Hulk character where he
Right.
helps people.
Right.
Those are the two things he does. He's sort of that wandering samurai-esque Ronin
He's a
from
Ronin.
Japanese film. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Ronin. Okay.
Yeah.
Who did your graphic work there?
Oliver Isabedra, I think is how
Oh.
you say it. He also did one of my covers. It's not in. Oh, it is in here.
Mhm.
I do have it in here, so it'll pop up. He did one
Okay.
of the covers.
Okay.
But he's a really good graphic designer. I want to reach out to him to see if he'll do my other graphics because
Yeah.
that Oni skull that represents Takeru, who's the main character, is just
Yeah.
turned out so good. I want to make patches and stickers and stuff out of it. Like I'm
Right.
in love
Right.
with how that looks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Eduardo does facial expressions so well. Uh,
Yep.
I've been very impressed. He's working on my book, full disclosure, and yeah, I really love the way he does facial expressions. Anyway, is this also Barbusco?
No, so well the
Okay,
colors are Mika. The colors are
Mika.
I think
Okay.
here. I think
Mm-hmm.
yeah, these should be Mika's colors. Because there was two colors who did this page, and I believe
Yeah.
this is Mika. But
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell
the
from I could tell the colors were hers, but I didn't know if their inks were.
the lines are actually Bruce Potnade.
Oh,
He's my
okay.
artist
Okay.
on the main book, and he
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
has been just it's been a blessing to find him. He works
Oh,
with
okay.
me. He doesn't try to change my story, but he'll tell me what's wrong, which is what you need. You know,
Yeah.
you need someone who's going
Right.
to be like this visually, the panel, the way you rewrote these panels. I think you're skipping a beat or whatever. You're too many beats. Slows it down
Yeah.
or speeds it up. He'll go through all that
Mm-hmm.
with me and be like, and then yeah, we come to something that is just exactly what I want in almost every
Right.
instance.
Right.
So it's just been amazing. And this first page
Mm-hmm.
was just like it solidified everything that like, okay, this is definitely what I want to do. There's just the feeling that I got
Mm-hmm.
back from it was, like kind of like finally I feel like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
doing what I want to do. So yeah, that's
Okay. Cool.
who did this piece.
Right. Right. Next one. Wow.
This one is Can White. Very early on.
Oh, Kanan. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And the colors on this one are Dijo Lima. He did the
Okay.
colors on the Company Men for
Oh,
Chemo.
right. Right. Yeah.
I believe. I mean, I might be wrong, but I believe I remember talking to Chemo, and that's who did the final colors on it. Yeah, this piece was basically I wanted an exclusive cover that would be only for Indiegogo, and Kanan
Yeah.
White was around at the time, and I loved the way like his blacks, the way he does the blacks
Yeah.
and stuff, and
Yeah.
and this being a character in the dark and shadow, I was like, yeah, I want to go to Kanan for this, and he killed it.
Well, Mika actually learned from DJ Lima, so that's why their work is similar.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the thing.
because I asked about Company Man, I was like, that looks like Mika's work. I know it's not, but it looks like Mika's work. And Chemo told me that it's because she learned from him. That ambient light's
Nice.
a tale.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
amazing.
she learned well, but
Yeah.
he's incredible. Wow, this is a cool one. Who is this?
And this is Oliver Isabedra's cover, and the colors on it are actually Matt Yaki.
Oh, Matt, yeah. I see his work a lot around Comicsgate.
There's actually some cool Easter eggs in this one, and so you can't see the full cover here, but one of the Easter eggs is in this thing. If you look between their two heads, there's like a hologram on one of the buildings, and there's a fox head. That's actually the fox, like the Kitsune character in the book. There's also his brother is also on one of the, like Goro is his older brother, who's one of the main antagonists. He's up on like this big billboard with his spirit animal behind him and stuff. So he snuck so many Easter eggs in this cover, when you look at it, I was so excited. He really liked the concept and stuff too, and like asked me about it, and he's, can I use this and stuff, and I was just like, yes, do everything you want to do. Do it all.
Right. Yeah. When somebody's that good, you just give them the run, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is
This
this
one,
is
yeah,
the
Dean's.
right. Dean James.
Dean
Yeah.
James. Yep.
Did he do
This
the?
one.
Did he color it too?
So the colors.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm gonna not Billick. Palmiotti, not Jimmy. Peter, right? Yeah, Peter Palmiotti did the colors.
Right.
And then
Okay.
oh no, the line. Sorry, the
Right.
colors is Paul Billick.
Right.
So that's where I was getting confused. Peter Palmiotti did
Yeah.
the line work over James's pencils, and then Paul Billick
Yeah.
colored it. Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize.
Usually I don't have three people, so I get it mixed up.
Peter's an incredible inker. He's just amazing.
Yeah.
He's in there. He's in the Genesis crew with us now, but he has definitely got a light touch on his inks. He leaves a lot of detail in. He really does. It's incredible. So this one is. Oh, this is Sim. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Sim and Scotsman on this bad boy. And this one was dope because I basically just told him and Dean, like, I want something where he's just surrounded. And I gave him like Rob Willis kind of the same thing where it's like, I want him surrounded by violence, a tornado of violence, just taking people out all around him. And this one, he wanted to do something in like kind of in honor of Silvestri or Ninja Turtles or something along those lines. So this it just screams Ninja Turtles to me, and I was so happy with this one.
Yeah, that is very, very.
And the storytelling is amazing too, with like the explosion going off in the window and everything. It's just amazing.
It's got a lot of movement to it. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of some of Frank Miller's Sin City stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like Marv coming through the window with the glass and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All can know good only because there is evil. Okay.
Yep. So that's basically a reference to the fact that this is a book that follows a character who would be considered evil, right? He's possessed by a demon, and it's his rise from evil to good. So that's why good and evil are sort of here. It's it's that's what that's about.
Yeah. I like things that play with that idea. The idea that good and evil are actually decisions you make, and it doesn't matter what your origin is, or like in my book, I have my hero basically comes out of retirement to save a bunch of selfish reprobates, and he's got to like save them from themselves as well as save them, but the situation they're in is they're surrounded and they don't even know it, and they've stuck in there with them like one of the big bads of the world, and he's about to burst out and kill everybody, as part of this big plan. They're going to be like used. The media is going to use them and what happened to them to push things forward, this plan forward, and the only way to the only way to keep that from happening is to save them, and not give them that. And so he decides he's mortal. He's mortal, and so he comes out of retirement. This is the guy behind me, Ironsides. But he comes out of retirement from 50 years behind a desk.
Oh dang!
And they basically buried him because he got injured, and he had like a constitutional mandate to protect the United States from powered people, both foreign and domestic. And he was actually written into the Bill of Rights, and so they used his injury to write him out to do an amendment to the Constitution, and form this organization that was supposedly to replace him with a federal organization called the FERA. And so then they basically stuck him in their intelligence department and used his knowledge for like 50 years until he found out that basically they'd shoved him off to the side, and his intel was not, it was old, and it wasn't even getting past the little pissant that they stuck over him, and so he quit. But then he gets basically pulled into this, but they decided to kill him off once and for all before their plan got kicked off. And the guy they sent turned out to be a double agent that he had said that he didn't remember he had put into play. And so it's just like this guy's test of loyalty: kill your mentor. But it turns out he's working for him all along. He just didn't remember it.
Huh.
And it's anyway. So that yeah. So that it like walks about, it basically is, this guy is like hero, he doesn't human very well because he's a general. He's basically a general. Colonel Ironsides is his name. They gave him a commission when they stuck him in there to like put him under their thumb. Gave him a commission, and so he never had a commission before. Now he does. So now he's using Colonel Ironsides instead of Ironsides to kind of like, okay, you made me a colonel. I'm going to command some troops. But yeah, but yeah, that line between good and evil and decisions that we make determine whether we are good or whether we're evil, not our origin or not our past.
Yeah, it's your decision in the moment.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
another thing I like with the themes of good and evil is something that really inspired me from breaking down. Someone broke down Lord of the Rings in this concept to me once, and I just like kind of fell in love with it. Is the evil is self-defeating, so good really doesn't necessarily. I mean, good fights, but good just has to endure. Like,
wait it out.
It's an endurement where evil will eventually crumble itself through greed or whatever.
Right.
So I have an element of that in the free origin story that's coming out. You'll get to see kind of how I use evil being self-defeating, because without giving anything away, I can say evil in this goes up against evil and gives Takeru a chance at a new life and freedom, even though it might not be the happy chance he wants, but it's a chance to do something else and not be shackled by his father, sort of thing. So
but there's a Bible verse that says that evil wins in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And it's all that's where it's always darkest before the dawn comes from.
Dawn. Yep.
Yeah. But like we're like right now, evil seems to be winning everywhere, and it's easy to become disheartened by it,
Yep.
And but like you said, evil is self-defeating. Evil is destructive. The wages of sin are death.
Yep.
And yeah, those are universal themes, or ones that we need to learn, And I think they're trying to put it out of society because they don't want good to know that good is eventually going to win if they hang on and don't like go
give in
and don't do what evil wants them to do.
Yeah, don't stoop to their level. Don't become them, because that's what they want.
Yeah. And I mean, people get disheartened. People get people get really down because of it. But like you said, it's evil is self-defeating. But so what are your future plans?
So ever since this kicked off, or like late 2018, early 2019, I had the plan, kind of what I'm doing now. I'd always planned to do, which is, it's just I wish I could have moved faster, and me and Bruce could have nailed things down faster and stuff, and I could have got the book out the way I wanted to, because I would have been doing things at the time no one was doing. I think I would have waited till everything was done before I shipped it. I want to open a store afterwards and sell my own. Not necessarily overflow, but I want to so I want to have the exclusive cover, so I won't sell any of that, but I'll sell overflow of the other covers, and then kind of keep those in print on a store is what I want to do, and then also try to get them into LCSs eventually. That's my goals. like
Yeah.
Luke, Death Metal Hero Luke, right? He runs a shop. I've been talking to him and just how to, because I thought there was like some weird legality to selling comic books in a shop, because obviously like but
No.
it's parent no, yeah. So because of that, now that I know that, I want to just start going places, and once I have books to give them, obviously
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
drop off boxes and be like, is this, let them look through it, like, is this something you'd be interested in selling in your shop? If so, we can strike a deal right now, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
stuff, you know. So
Well,
that's my future plans.
I think things like CG Now are the future of Comicsgate. Uh,
Oh yeah,
where
yeah.
where you keep back stock and then you list it like on CG Now, and people can go and look at the marketplace, and and you have a website where you're distributing this from,
Hmm.
and CG Now is like kind of like a clearing,
The hub.
like a yeah, yeah. Yeah, I really think that's the future. What we're doing here. I don't.
So
I think the young Rippo was talking last night on Bancroft about these middlemen that we're relying on
yeah,
are basically in the hands of SJWs,
yeah,
and they might be fine for now, but eventually they're going to turn their eye. Uh, like what happened with Parlor. Parlor
yeah,
wasn't. Parlor didn't bother them until it bothered them, and then suddenly Amazon couldn't, didn't host them anymore, and didn't give them any warning that they wasn't going to host
yep.
them anymore, and it killed all momentum. You know,
Hmm.
because they got it. They overnight after they booted Trump, got as big as Twitter, and then they killed it.
Yeah, you
And
can't have that though. You got to control everything.
yeah, which I think is a cautionary tale that we all need to heed and all need to pay attention to. I think YouTube eventually is gonna crack down, and we need to. I've been watching Odyssey and Rumble and see which one is the better option. But I think eventually we're all going to need to go somewhere else. Um,
I agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, somewhere where there's and we may have to hop. They might get balled out, and we have to hop to another one. But I think we need to make plans. Um,
Yeah.
so do you have any advice for other writers?
Yeah, so I gave this piece of advice on Bruce's show, but it's something that I think that I want to spread around, and it's not to repeat
Hmm.
myself, but I want more people to hear it, because I think this is
Okay.
something early
Okay.
writers really that stops. I think this is what stops a lot of people from writing, or at least one thing. So
Yeah.
if you're writing, you think that, or usually you think like, okay, I'm going to start on page 1 and I'm going to write through
Hmm.
to page 2 to page 4. If you get
Yeah.
stuck on a plot point, you can always move ahead and just start
Right.
continue to figure things out while you ruminate on that point. And yes, if you go back and fix it, it might butterfly affect some things, but you write
Yeah.
keeping that in mind, so you don't necessarily lock things down. You just kind of explore, and then once
Yeah.
you could come back to that, and even if you're stuck and going ahead isn't helping, step away. Then if you going ahead isn't
Yeah.
helping, and you just step away, clear your mind. What I like to do is physical activity, like I
Hmm.
skateboard, but you can just go for a walk and just get your eyes on new things and start seeing new things. Get your
Yeah.
headspace in a different place for like at least an hour, and then come back. That's what I like to do,
Right.
and that's
Right.
probably my biggest advice, because that helped me finish my first scripts. And if it wasn't for
Hmm.
that, I would have never been here. So that's usually the piece of advice that I like to stick with and consistently give when people ask me if there's like any one piece that I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably my favorite.
Yeah. I'm doing some of those things already, but the my problem is once I walk away from it, I never get back to it. So
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, that's kind of like my issue. I used to take walks and talking to my recording device in my phone, and I got like hours and hours of those files, but I need to go like cull through them one of these days. But I kind of like talk out my process or whatever.
Yeah, but that
Um,
also that also helps it stick in your head too, like talking through it. Even if you
yeah,
don't go back and listen to them ever,
yeah,
you that just saying it and having that conversation helps your brain hear it out loud and think about it and
yeah,
more.
yeah. Well, one of my characters, I couldn't figure out who he was for a long time, and then I kind of like it was all there. It was all there. What I wrote down. I realized that this older man was ordering him around, but calling him son and encouraging him like that. And he was like jumping in and doing everything for this guy. And it suddenly occurred to me, I was like, well, I know he lives with his mama in the base. He's middle aged guy, fat guy living in the basement of his mama's house. I was like, but where's his father? And then it's like, oh, he's got daddy issues. And then I had to think about my main character again. Why is Ironsides calling him father or son and all this stuff? I was like, he figured out that the guy has a father wound and he's using it to motivate him as a soldier, and so then I had to reevaluate two characters.
Yep.
Because
That happens,
that
though.
made yeah. But if Ironsides is doing it for his own good, it's still manipulation. And so I'm like, what is Ironsides willing to do? To save these people, he's willing to like break he's going to make this omelet one way or another, and he's going to break as many eggs as he has to make it, and that's going to cause conflict further down. But that's the thing, and that came from a spitball about one character, and then it was like, oh crap, And so suddenly the backstory was there. I was seeing this guy, I knew he was an ex-jock that got disqualified. He's breaking all these state records because of his power. And then he got disqualified because in my world, people that have powers can't do any sports or they can't.
Bigot. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know exactly. In my world, they can't participate in anything having to do with normal humans.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's unfair.
Exactly. And as soon as you're like outed as a powered person, you basically there's a whole new set of rules for you. And he lost all this prestige. He went from hometown hero to nobody. And I was like, well, why was he so desperate to prove himself in sports? And then I was like, where's his father at? And then I was like, oh, so there's this whole thing about his father being the hometown hero and never been satisfied with him. And so his father suddenly is satisfied with him and like praising him and lauding him, because he's finally living up to the family name. But then he gets like outed as having powers. And then his father's like, you cheated, so his father has this whole other family that these children of his next marriage that he's proud of and that he talks about and dotes on. And this kid, my uncle did this. I have an uncle that did this, but the next marriage, those kids got all his love and affection, and the previous marriage kids were kind of like, but some men do that. They just move on, and they move on from their kids and stuff. But I was like, so he has this huge father wound, and it caused him to like, once he figured out how powerful he was, he started doing like YouTube videos. It's a different like apparatus. It's not YouTube, but he was doing like videos like that. Like he would jump off a building and stuff like that. He's doing like extreme sports stuff. But
dude, I gotta talk to you about something. There's a team I have that are like extreme sports guys with superpowers. Did you ever see Triple X by chance? The first Triple X?
Yeah.
You know, at the beginning where they steal that guy's car and like drive it off the fucking. So that's kind of what inspired those characters. They're guys that one of them's a teleporter and one of them regens. So they do all these crazy stunts and they put it online, and they're the first super powered people that anyone knows about.
Right.
So it kicks off all the secret people coming out, and like, then the world blows up, right? Because now like the world's like, whoa, what's going on? So yeah, I love that concept of a superhero, like do it. I like it.
Well, see, the funny thing about him is when there's like it's interviews I did with to kind of work out my characters. I'll eventually put it in somewhere, but the guy who's like interviewing him says, you did like $30 million worth of property damage in about 6 months. You were doing this because they're all like in jail, right? And he's like, yeah, but I'll pay all those people back as soon as you let me start uploading again, because he's addicted to it,
Yeah.
He's like, no, you did like $30 million worth of damage. You're just not going to pay that back. But it's just like, he's talking about his clicks, and things like that. Well, I'll fix it. But eventually, but that gave me like all these dimensions of that character. But that came from just like one walk around the block. But so yeah, your advice is people need to know that. That's good advice. Stephen King started doing that. That's how he got hit by the car.
Oh my God.
That's
Maybe
where.
don't do it then. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, don't do it on the side of a country
Road.
road.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the guy was like reaching down from Mars bars, or something. No,
Oh,
his dog
dude.
was trying to get into some meat in the cooler, and he reached down to knock the dog away from the meat, and hit him. Uh,
Damn, dude.
but while he was recovering, he did on writing, which
Yeah.
has lived way beyond him. Uh, so I mean, a good thing came out of it. It just, it is what it is.
Right.
So it's time for you to put me in the hot seat. Do you have any questions you want to ask me, or is there a question you wish that I would have asked that I didn't?
So I actually have two questions. One is, I
Okay.
know you mentioned the Stephen King book, so that might be your
Yeah.
answer for this. I was going to ask if you have a book on writing that you would recommend. So
Yeah.
that's one of my questions.
On writing is definitely how to write comics the Marvel way is a good one. How to draw comics the Marvel way is also a good one. I also recommend if you're going to do comics that you need to learn the art of drawing.
Mm,
So I highly suggest that you at least attempt to do some drawing yourself,
Oh yeah.
and take some like rudimentary courses or things like that. Because if you're going to ask an artist to do something, you need to know what you're asking them to do,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and also it helps you with panel construction and helps you conceptualize the panels and things like that. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
And then my second question is what is your
Mhm.
favorite aspect of writing? Like when you're writing, when you're going through in your head, working through things, what's your favorite moment in the writing? Like when is it when things click? Is it when you figure out like you said you figure out who a character is, or like what things make you the most excited when you're writing?
What makes me the most excited is when the character refuses to do what I want him to do.
Okay.
When the character shows some impetus, it shows some. They do something. They zig when I think they should zag. But it sounds a little existential, but I believe, like Stephen King says in On Writing, that your writing is basically excavation
Hmm.
of a pre-existing artifact, and your job is to get it as intact out of the ground as possible, uh, using all your tools, and my excitement comes when I my character does things that can kind of they're true to the character, but they kind of confuse me for
Hmm. This moment.
and because it always pays off. It's always paid off down the road when I've finally realized, oh, that's why they did that. I wrote a character. I did a short series of short books that all like are cohesive into one bit larger work, and they were called Dr. John Watson, Police Surgeon, Scotland Yard. Uh,
Hmm.
and they were about that period of time where Holmes was supposedly dead. Uh, we know that Watson started working with the Yard, and there's this position in the Yard. Back then, it was basically the coroner, but the coroner is also an investigator, and so I knew Watson had this medical experience, and he was okay. He was in wartime, so he's okay around bodies, and
Yep.
so it made sense that he would take his position. And But there was this chief surgeon or this chief coroner there at Scotland Yard, and he's a Frenchman, and uh, and he just came out as a Frenchman. He was just a facious, kind of arrogant. He was a large guy with like simian arms, and but he was just an asshole, But he's French, But anyway, but I'm like, why did he make him French? Why would I make him French? He's a Scotland Yard, London. What the heck is he doing there? But then later on, I found out that at that time, Alphonse Bertillon was the innovator of modern forensics. He was a
Hmm.
Frenchman, and that people who trained under him were prized all around the world in like police departments. And so, if a Scotland Yard was going to have a chief police surgeon, they would probably choose a Frenchman from that school.
Hmm.
But I didn't know that when I started writing. I was like, why is this guy French? I didn't know why. But then later on, I found that out, and I was like, you know,
That's why.
those, yeah, that's why. And those moments when something happens that feels like it's out of my control, I feel like I'm discovering it alongside the writer. Uh, that those moments like that are the reason why I do what I do.
Nice. Yeah, that was a good answer.
Yeah,
For me, I think it's when so it's kind of similar, but I'll have like these
yeah,
motivations built up for my character, and I'll know how people will react to things, but they'll be like
yeah,
a situational event or something that I come up with that like
uh-huh,
makes multiple characters' motivations become
yeah,
synchronous, and sort
uh-huh,
of it makes the conflict and or the alignments fit so
yeah.
perfectly. There's a moment, and then like you can kind of like your mind almost when it clicks, at least with
Yeah.
me, this is how it works. When that moment clicks and I realize like that's how it works, my mind instantly like goes ahead,
You
100
you
steps or
see how
whatever.
you see where the Rube Goldberg machine is going.
Yeah, it's literally just goes like ting 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 ting, and like all these things. Yeah, I just like I'm like, there it is. I love that moment.
Yeah.
It releases so much endorphins in me. I literally get out
Uh,
of my seat sometimes, and I'm just like, yes. It's the same thing when like landing for
mm,
the skaters out there who will understand this. It's like when you land your first kickflip or
uh,
when you land a new trick. It's just that there's a rush of like joy, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it. Excitement, accomplishment. It's a
yeah.
mixture of accomplishment and just excitement. It's crazy. I love that
What's
feeling.
that? Sometimes when sometimes it feels like you're juggling
Yeah.
when you write because you're juggling so many characters and so many the plot points and everything and all these things and then but when it all like lands and it lands on its feet,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and it just like the moment that Carrie Strug, did her vault on the bad ankle and
Ooh,
landed it,
lands it.
and 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 I mean, I watched that live, and it's the most incredible thing I ever seen. Now we got like gymnasts that are like, I don't want, I'm just not going to go out. I just don't feel like going out, But
Yeah.
but then but when she did that, and she immediately collapsed down. I mean, bless her heart, she landed on a freaking sprained ankle, you know.
Yeah.
But
And stuck it.
it stuck it. But that moment when you just when even no matter how crazy things are, but when you stick the landing, it's just a feeling like nothing else.
Hmm.
And it's addictive. It's very addictive. Uh, but thing about it is that I've had books or stories where I had no idea how I was going to get back to true. It felt like I'd gone so far. Uh, my protagonist. There's no way they're going to win through this, and I thought, oh crap, I'm going to have a ending where I'm going to have a tragic ending. I'm going to basically Tarantino this crap, and things are not going to end well, and then the story lands. It lands, and it lands at a place where I'm happy with the way things come out, and it's addictive. It really is addictive. When people, I guess that's why I've kind of brawled with people over this, but I guess that's why when I hear the art being denigrated, and saying anybody can write, and things like that, you hear that over and over again. And yeah, technically anybody can write, but trust me, not everybody's a writer.
Everyone can write, but not everyone's gonna read it. That's
No,
basically what it comes down
no.
to. You
I mean,
have to.
I
It's
came
a
out of
skill.
fan fiction, and trust me, not everybody can write.
Oh
Because
my God.
everybody with I mean, it didn't
Yeah.
used to be. They didn't used to be as bad as it is now. Those fan fictions writers, by the way, now writing for Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I remember when there was the time when you'd find some real gems in fan fiction, where you'd find somebody writing in one of these IPs and it like extended the story, it extended the world, past the beyond its, the for sale by date. Uh, and I managed to do one of those. It was a mash fic, but
Nice.
yeah, and a lot of people love it. I still get people coming. I had one lady that said she walked around a casino reading it one night, ignoring. She said, "So you probably saved me a bunch of money." So
Nice.
I'm like, that's a great compliment. You're more interested into the story. But yeah. Because the art form, I mean, these things have to be conceived of. They have to be conceived of. They have to the worlds have to be defined. The characters have to have a backstory. They have to have their motivations.
Mhm.
All these things have to be conceived of, and it has to come from somewhere, right? I mean, artists, all the great artists, very few of them wrote their scripts. Very few of them did. And of course, the ones that did, them not always turned out too well, but these worlds have to be conceived of, and that even if an artist is writing their own script at that moment, they're a writer. They're not an artist anymore. They're a writer. It's a different part of the brain. It's a
Mhm.
different part. It's a different use of your imagination, and so that's why I did a show, The Right Stuff. I want to talk to people about the art. I want to talk to people about the process. I want to have these out here so people can learn from different people.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, that's that's pretty much all I've got. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, just if people are interested about the comic on Twitter and Instagram
Okay.
at the at in my name, you can at
Yeah.
Okuri_INU_comic. It's
Mm-hmm.
both those places, Instagram and Twitter. You can find them, sign up for my mailing list in my bios. And I
Okay.
basically
Okay.
do monthly updates. I only send out one email a month, and it's just
Uh-huh.
sometimes I have a theme, and like
Yeah.
I'll release stuff with the theme. And then
Okay.
I give backgrounds, like some of the stuff you posted today were a lot of the backgrounds and stuff I've shared off of my email at my
Yeah.
mailing list. And
Okay.
yeah, just to let people know when all this stuff's actually going to drop, and that's the best way
All right.
to hear about it.
Okay. Just send me those links and I will post them below.
Nice.
They will
Do it
be
right now.
under here. Ideally, before. Uh, anyway, we'll also have a live chat when this post. And hopefully you can come for that. But I usually answer any questions that are there at that time. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Woodrow from OKURI-INU comic, and I appreciate you coming today. This has been Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics, and y'all have a nice day.
Later, everyone.